conditioning problems that we have. We kept working, I guess, we're recently asked the architect to come back with some, I guess, cut some items, tried to get the costs down on, and just go through the plans and see what would be most beneficial from a teaching standpoint and really the whole facility standpoint. One thing we really wanted to keep in mind was what we'd heard from the public as far as the preference by the majority really to keeping the 28 building. So we leaned that direction, and I think what helped us all to have a higher comfort level with that was when we had the architect who specialized in remodeling the old buildings tell us that if that building was, a complete remodel was done on it, it would be as good or better than a new building. Now, he said that is if a complete remodel is done. So you've taken all the wiring, plumbing, valve, just almost gutted it really, but he said the shell itself is such a strong, good shell that it would really treat us well for another 60 years or whatever. So that's the direction we leaned, and so we continued to work towards that. I guess part of that, to make that plan work, one thing we had to do was get rid of the kitchen that we have now was creating problems because you have to have a second exit. You can't exit through the kitchen area, and that was, so moving art room into that kitchen was one of the ideas that came up with. Library was an issue because we'd have to have a hallway through the library in order to bring that up to code. And I'm kind of rambling here, but the core of it really was using the old gym for a library that would be centered for all the classrooms really. That was one of the recommendations that really made sense. So that's the direction they went with that. Tried to block the classrooms together, the English classrooms together, science classrooms, and so forth. Max can address some of that better, but I guess the general direction we wanted to head was that direction. Now, keeping in mind that there was also reasons for needing another gym facility, plus especially if we use the old gym, then that really leaves us short. But keeping in mind that an expensive gym was not something that we could afford to do, we leaned towards a practice facility, something with size enough that two teams could practice in there, especially where we'll lose the other gym. Felt that would be needed. And so that's the direction we told them to go there. Trying to think what other, I guess anybody else in the building and grounds committee have any?
Well, part of it, we were addressing the heating and cooling of the whole school, not just the 28 building.
Right. And really that's one thing we looked at very closely also, is what the cost would be for just bringing the heating and cooling, the fire code, the disabilities,
And one ADA
and so forth, and that was pushing $5 million, wasn't it, for that? And of course, that wasn't going to take us very far into the future as far as what our facility would, improvement to the actual learning of the facility. And so we want to get as much bang for our buck as we could, I guess.
You might address our discussion of the elementary too.
Yes, we did and of course, there are some things that need attention in the elementary. The heating and air conditioning isn't in the situation it is here where something has to be done immediately. But we just felt at this time that to try and do both buildings was beyond what we could afford to do. And, you know, there are some smaller items in the elementary that we can handle with the building fund, just repairs and some fire code issues that we would handle with that. But as far as going with anything more than anything major in the elementary, we did not feel that was something that the district would consider affordable at this point.
Good job, yeah.
I guess.
Lighting is another concern. I think kind of mentioned it, you know, this building, especially the 28 building, the lighting is old and inefficient and needs to be updated and would save a lot of electricity if it was.
What was it, the assistant superintendent of schools in Lincoln, when we visited with him, and they talked about the payback on the lighting and heating and cooling was projected to be 10 years, and he said, we're gonna beat that. And, you know, of course, if rates increase, that obviously speeds up that payback. But, you know, part of this expense will be helped out by offsetting some energy costs. Don't want to minimize it. It's still a lot of money, but we, I guess, tried to look at the long-range plan for the facility and what would give us the most good over the long term without having to revisit it again in 10 or 15 or 20 years. That's really the way we wanted to approach it. I guess.
Well, basically what the new construction would consist of would be the practice facility, the kitchen, and wrestling room and
Kind of a commons area.
Yeah,
that would
commons area.
Double as like a,
Kitchen, or for the dining.
yeah, the dining area. And,
And I apologize that apparently my agenda fell out the door when I went to crawl in the pickup, because I had it with me today. So I don't have those exact numbers in front of me right now.
well, yeah, I don't know if anybody else has the numbers, but it's
about,
well, new construction would be about 4.2 million, a little over, and renovation would be 5.5. So we were trying to keep it below 10, and we had it at 97, 64.
Right.
that's still a little preliminary at this point. I think they
That's
were kind of
estimated.
fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So estimate numbers, but that was the best we had at this point. And,
And I think our object is to present it to the public and let the public decide if it, you know, is what we have to do.
If we go in November, it would be at the general election.
Yeah.
You can't go in like 6 weeks either side of that with a special election, which makes sense anyway.
Yeah.
To save us.
The Valley County taxpayers stand everything that's happening in Ord. I mean, the fire hall's going up, and maybe your taxes aren't gonna be much, but any kind of farmer's gonna have between $1,000 and $2,000 more taxes just for a fire hall. And I'm sure we'll have to pay for the hospital eventually. They kind of said, they kind of pushed it through with the idea they'd pay.
It's
They haven't made
projected
any
not,
money for 20 years, why would they make any now?
it's projected not to, but then.
Well, I know a
who
couple
knows?
other instances done that, and they had to go to tax. And they were bigger places than Ord. So I think we'll get it. And it'll be a big burden.
Well, and if